Coming up on the Civil Discourse, author, professor, sociologist, and columnist for the New York Times, Tressie McMillan Cottom, discusses her writing as a Black female intellectual, her best-selling book, Thick, and other essays, as well as the impact of her cultural criticism in the world of social media.
Fundamentally, the only thing that has ever really impacted political discourse, I think, and moved people to see the world in a new way is narrative and story. And so I didn't think I was doing myself any favors by cutting myself off from that really powerful tradition. And so what you have there is me both wrestling with that, coming to terms with that, and I hope ultimately owning it.
Hello, I'm Paula Marantz-Cohn, host of The Civil Discourse, speaking to you from my office at Drexel University in Philadelphia. The goal of The Civil Discourse is to introduce our viewers to guests with diverse opinions and life experiences. They are all accomplished people who, even when we disagree with them, can help us think more critically and empathetically about the world we live in. Today, my guest is Tressie McMillan Cottom, a professor of sociology at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, a columnist for the New York Times, and a recipient of a MacArthur Genius Award. Professor Cottom has published 2 books, as well as numerous essays that look at our culture through the lens of a Black female intellectual. Her insights can be controversial. They are always interesting. Tressie McMillan Cottom, welcome to the Civil Discourse.
Hello, and thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. Well, I want to start by quoting from one of your works, a collection of essays titled Thick. I think this gives a good introduction to your voice and subject matter. You write, on one of my first forays into publishing, an editor told me that I was too readable to be academic, too deep to be popular, too country Black to be literary, and too naive to show the rigor of my thinking in the complexity of my prose. I had wanted to create something meaningful that sounded not only like me, but like all of me. It was too thick. I love that, and I think you're really getting at what makes your writing so delicious to read. Tell us about how you define thick and why you embrace this quality.
Yeah, and I love the idea of it being delicious. I like that a lot. So thank you for that. When I was writing this book, I had been trained as an academic, but I had grown up steeped in the African-American literary tradition and in the oral tradition. And so all of those things were a part of what made me. And I was writing thick at this moment for me intellectually where no one had said to me that I needed to make a decision, but I felt compelled to make a decision about how I would speak into the world, right? Was I going to speak in this register of sort of a trained academic, or was I going to speak in my natural register, which some people feel is colloquial? What was I saying about the culture that had produced me if I felt the need to sort of code switch in this way? But I was recognizing that I thought that I had earned the right and the space to have a conversation that was as full and nuanced and as complex as the people and the places and the histories that had made me, and that in no way undermined or contradicted the academic rigor or training that I had undertaken. And that, in fact, not only did it not contradict that training, but I fundamentally believe and have found it to be true, certainly since Thick came out, that people are able to wrestle better with the academic nuance precisely because I embrace the importance of voice and narrative. And this wasn't new to everyone. It was, however, a process of discovery for me. But what fundamentally, the only thing that has ever really impacted political discourse, I think, and moved people to see the world in a new way is narrative and story. And so I didn't think I was doing myself any favors by cutting myself off from that really powerful tradition. And so what you have there is me both wrestling with that, coming to terms with that, and I hope ultimately owning it.